money at the end of the month. Now, what is it that you think that makes parents uncomfortable about having these discussions with their children?
I think the fact that the child is so young, how will they understand about money? Money is such a huge subject. I think even as parents, we're still figuring it out ourselves.
Right.
And so, you know, what conversations am I going to have? I remember when I've always known from when my children, before they existed, that I'm going to teach my kids about money. And the time came and I got my child, I think she was 4 or 5, I think she was 5, and I got her piggy bank. And this piggy bank, by the way, is fabulous because it has, and we'll talk about it shortly, but it has different slots for the different things you're saving for, right? So it's first of all, it's see-through, and then it has save, it has spend, it has donate, and it has invest. And it's for kids, right? So it's a piggy bank in the shape of a pig. Well, you can get in all kinds of shapes, right? And what I loved about it is, first of all, it's see-through, so the child can actually see. So at 4 or 5, she could see her coins are growing or her money is filling up, and it's awesome. But then that's one thing, but I needed to explain to her, where did money come from? How did it arrive? Why do we use money? What do we need to do with it? And what are the values that I want to teach my child? And you know, it's not so easy. It's not so easy. But I think, and that's why parents, I think, just to answer your question, I think that's why parents where do you even start? So I think when you have some sort of guidance as a parent on how to begin, how to teach them, how to make choices, because I think that's also very hard. Because if I teach a child, when you hear, but then you don't quite learn until you actually do
handle
it.
Your own
you handle
money.
you handle it your own, on your own, and so that's when you can actually, learn how to properly manage their money. And so I think that's a tough one, because I remember my child was making some, I think they're called loom bands, and she'd sell them. And so she'd made like a 50 bob one Saturday. And she took that 50 bob with her to church. And we were leaving church and said, I want to buy popcorn, and popcorn was 50 bob. And so we both looked at her like, that's not a very wise decision. And my husband was like, Tuse, is that, are you sure you want to do that? So, I told him, okay, let's just let her. Because we need to come to a place where we let children make the decisions and realize, imagine when I spend that money, it's gone.
And I worked the whole day, made a loom band.
And do you know that she's actually a lot more careful about how she spends money? The other thing is just, like for tithe on Sundays, you give, right? I don't give my child money to give at church. So she has to find ways of making her own money. She saves her own money, and then she gives from whatever coins she has.
So speaking on about that, how should we be paying children to do chores around the house? Should we have that kind of system around? Because you're right, we do need them to know that money is earned, that it just doesn't grow on trees. That's how you get some children saying, when you tell them, I don't have money for that, and they're like, so you just go to the bank and get money, and you're like, do you just think, you have to work, So how do you get children to understand that work equals money?
I think allowance is good. I wouldn't say don't give an allowance. What I would say is let children earn. I mean, you can do anything, but not chores. I think there are certain chores that a child must do. They must make their bed. They must clean after themselves. They must set the table. They must wash dishes. They must wash their shoes and wash their underwear. You can't get paid for that sort of stuff. So there's certain duties in the home that perhaps are a bit beyond them. And so as they get older and able to do them, then it can be that, okay, so if you wash the car or if you do whatever it is, then you will get some money. But as the child grows, there are certain expenses that the child incurs. And so my intention when my child gets to around 10 is to agree with her 3 expenses that she's incurring or we are incurring on her behalf, such as maybe lunch money or whatever it is, a day-to-day or weekly expense that we have to incur for her. We'll give her the money. And so whether she decides to buy all that lunch money to go and watch some kind of movie with her friends or pay lunch, that's her problem. So she will learn how to manage her own money, and we will sign a contract. Imagine.
What?
Yes, I will tell her this money is for these 2 or 3 things, and this is the amount. You don't get any more until the next time you need to pay, because how will she learn?
How will she learn?
How will she learn?
Have you found that, how old is your daughter, 10?
She's 8.
Oh, she's 8. Okay, so have you found, and when did you start this?
No, the contract thing.
Oh,
No, the expenses. No,
okay.
we haven't.
Okay.
My intention is to start when she's 10.
Oh, to start when she's 10. Okay. So how are you then training her now? Which also brings you to the question, how early should we start speaking to our children about money?
Yeah. So far, in terms of speaking, I've only told her the stories about where money came from and what we used to use as money.
So
like barter trade and cowrie shells.
Yeah.
And there's lots of content online, by the way.
Yeah.
But, and in fact, my next book is for parents and how to teach your kids about money in our context.
Yeah. How to raise money
wise kids.
How to raise money wise kids. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so we started the conversations from, I think she was 4. My husband, what my husband used to do is tell her, do some push-ups and I will give you 2 shillings.
Wait,
if you want money for sweets, do the push-ups and then I will give you.
Okay.
So it was, because I mean she was so tiny, she couldn't wash a dish to save her life. I mean we'd have to put a it was dangerous, you know.
Yeah.
So I think from the age of 4.
From the age of 4, so you can start quite early. Should parents open up about money struggles to their children?
That's a hard one. I think in age-appropriate ways.
Okay.
It's important for kids to learn about it. And I'll give my example.
Yeah.
When I was younger, probably in my teens, my parents went into debt.
Okay.
And, you know, they'd express the fact that they're in debt and, you know, we have to tighten up our belts because we need to pay off, you know, the mortgage, and we need to make sure that, you know, we don't overspend and we have to be careful about that. I think because of those conversations, I knew, hey, debt is to be feared because I saw what it did and I saw the stress that it was causing. And I mean, they did overcome that.
Yeah.
However, even in the overcoming, I watched that and they talked about it, what they're doing about it, and that was helpful. But how I was older, I was in my upper teens.
Yeah.
Now, if you tell that to a child who is 5, they'll probably feel, oh my gosh, we're not going to have food for them tomorrow. It's overwhelming.
Yeah, exactly. It's a burden.
Yeah, it's a burden. So it's in age-appropriate ways just to explain that, you know, things are a little bit tough right now.
Yeah.
It's not so bad, but we need to be careful about how we manage our money.
I love what you've just said, and I can relate to it so much because my parents did go through the same thing, and I think before that moment in their lives, I didn't even think much about money. It just, sometimes they'd say they have it, sometimes they didn't. I didn't question at all, but because they brought us into that and we understood, it completely changed my perspective on money, and I have a profound respect for it. Last question before we go into break. When should parents step back? When should parents let the children do whatever they choose to do, make the mistakes, and choose, you know what, from now on, I'm not helping you, I'm cutting you off, you figure that out?
Yeah. So I'll go back to that piggy bank I mentioned, the clear one that has the different slots. At the age of 4 and 5, you need as a parent to let your child make some decisions. And so allowing them to make the decisions increases over time.
Yeah.
So for example, you need a child to know when they have money, they have a choice.
Yeah.
They have a choice to save it, they have a choice to spend it, they have a choice to give it away to somebody or something or some cause, or to save it for later, like 2 years away, for this big project or this big goal. And then they need to set goals for the different things. Now, that process is for them. It's for them to make that decision. And so from that young age of 7 and 8, you need to allow them to make those decisions themselves, and then they will understand, okay, I've put all of it on spending, I don't have any more. When I need a bike, or I need this, or I need the other, I need to be able to start putting more money here. Now, the other thing with allowing them to make the decisions themselves by stepping back is you start to understand intuitively, what's your child doing?
Okay.
And so then you know and are equipped to figure out, what do I need to teach them? Because if they're only saving, they need to understand, you need to live a little.
That's what my dad used to say. Actually, at some point, he made it very clear. If you do not spend that money, if you just keep saving it, I'm not going to give you. Because that's not how life works. And it's the truth. Life isn't about being, you know, like a, you know, a miser, not really enjoying it. You've got to spend. You've got to grow. And anyway, when you grow up, you'll be spending on things like rent and food.
Exactly. There'll be expenses you can do nothing about.
Yeah, exactly.
They're there.
So live a little.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to ask Rina to give us more details on actual practical tips and steps to make sure that we're raising financially savvy children. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. We're here with Rina Hicks, who's a friend of the show and an investment banker, and we're getting into how to raise money-wise children, which is most likely going to be her next book. I'm excited to read that. I can't wait to dive into what you would have to say in the book. But for now, what are some practical tips, or even before we get into practical tips, what are the values that we should be trying to instill in children when it comes to money?
So I have three.
Okay.
The first one is money, in fact, let me put it this way. Everything in the world and everything on earth has an owner, and that owner is God. And I am a manager of those things. And when you understand that, it's like if you give me your dress, I'm going to be very careful about how I treat it, how I wash it, when I wear it, I have to make sure it doesn't get ripped or torn, because I have to give it back to you. It's not mine. And that's how we need to approach money, because it's not mine. I am managing it. That's how I need to treat my business. That's how I need to treat my car. That's how I need to treat every asset that I have, even my home.
That's completely thrown me off. The fact that even money isn't ours.
No.
I'm just here to manage it.
Yes, because if you don't manage it well, do you know what's going to happen? It's just going to slip through your fingers.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the first value.
Yeah.
He owns, I manage.
I've never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So the second thing is the value of work. I think we touched it earlier. It's that, you know, money doesn't just come. And for some people it may, but somebody somewhere worked and spent time applying themselves into something, creating something, solving a problem, and that's how money came for them. And I think I'd say lastly is gratitude and this feeling of contentment. Because I think one problem we have is I look at you and I'm like, Sharon looks like she's made it. Like I want to have what she has. And then I model my life on what you have in the car that you drive and where you live and how you dress. And yet God has called me for a specific purpose in my life. Like I am here on earth to fulfill some cause or some purpose. And if I model my life on somebody else, then I'm going to miss the mark. You know, I'm always going to be chasing this thing that I have nothing to do with and I was not born to do, you know. But if I live my life knowing that I am pursuing something that is just about me and what God created for me. And the other thing about gratitude and contentment is knowing that it's not all about me.
Okay.
Selfishness is an issue, especially with kids. You know, we have a focus on self, and not just with kids, even with grown-ups. So we need to learn that it's not just about me. There are other people out there who are needy. There are other people out there who need my help and assistance. And
which is what I even love about the piggy bank that you mentioned earlier, how there's a donate section, because a lot of times we don't realize that that is part of where our money should be going. We just think saving, assets, house, sweets. I mean, for kids, I guess it'll just be how do I me. And it's having to make sure that we're raising well-rounded human beings. And so children, in many instances, learn by observing, right? So you might say, do this, but what you're actually doing, what they're watching you doing is completely different. So what should parents be doing so that, you know, hopefully children emulate that? What are some of the things that we should be aware of?
I think it's for us to first of all recognize that we have weaknesses and just see what are the areas we need to improve in the management of our own money. Just even in the way that I think a short while ago we were talking about shopping. And sometimes I can know in my head what I need to buy. But then I go to the shop and I start buying. But you know, the correct way to do it is to have a list of things. And I need to then now be deliberate. It's not just about me. I need to show this child that I'm going shopping with that we don't just go picking things.
That you're not just spending your money.
That we have a list, and then they will see that there's a list. So I think the first thing parents need to do is first work on themselves and know that, learn how to manage their own money well, and try use cash a lot more, because then particularly even with the kids, they need to understand, okay, so you give that, then you get change. Okay, why am I getting change? Why am I giving, like I remember it happened with my daughter. I think she was 6 at the time. And she was given a gift of 500 shillings by a friend. And we went to the shop and she said, I want an ice cream. And I told her, okay, pick an ice cream, look at the prices though, and just look, you have a 500 shilling note. And so she picked one that was 100 and something. But I don't know, it's like it didn't connect. So she went to the till, and she gave the 500, and she was like, she's given me so much money. Because there was one note, and then she got a lot. But you see, that was an opportunity for me to teach that, okay, it's more in terms of paper, but the value is less, and it was a teaching opportunity. But then if he had said, let me send your mom M-Pesa, she'll buy for you, that teaching opportunity would not have been there for me.
And I think even for adults, when we don't actually have the money in our hands, we tend to think that there's no real connection, so we end up spending it a lot faster. But now, that's a really good tip. You know, like going into a store and giving them the note and having them do the math and calculate it. What are some other practical tips that you can share with parents watching?
So the other one is the choices. Right?
Okay.
So there's choice, and allow your child to make choice, and the choices are those 4.
Okay.
Are you going to save it? Are you going to invest it? And what the tip would be here?
Wait, sorry. The 4 are save, invest, donate,
spend.
Spend.
You're not a spender.
Oh,
you're not a spender. Like spender doesn't mean like,
what is that? What does that mean?
So the tip I would give parents is get containers.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe I should just develop something
That's
and
the
sell.
next product line.
I know, right?
Rina, I completely visualize this.
But for now, we have honey jars, right?
Yeah.
Plastic ones that you don't, you don't use after that. Get 4 and then label them. Label them, save, invest, spend, and give or donate.
Yeah.
And then just have the child make the choice. So if they earn the money, or if it's an allowance your parent gives you, the child, then have the child make the decision, where do they want to put the money? And it's okay where they decide to put the money.
So if you're just seeing someone go spend, or maybe save, or donate,
then that's a teaching opportunity. Let them. Okay. And then once they put it, understand, why did you put it there? What is it you want to do? Then, by the way, you will be surprised what the child tells you. And then you will understand, okay, this is what they have in their mind. Let me help them understand the reality of the situation.
If maybe, if the donate jar is constantly empty, then you
What's
need to
that
start
about?
being like, it's not just about you, honey. There's more. Okay, that's a good tip. Any other tip?
One of the things I have heard taught before, where kids are concerned, which I'm looking forward to trying out, is teaching a child the power of compounding. Okay. And the value you're teaching there is the fact that it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter where you are at. We can all be millionaires multiple times over. How? Through the power of compound interest and time, right? Yeah. And so if you're able to, is to teach your child save, and the money grows through interest.
Wow.
Yeah, and so if it grows, and as it grows, your 1,000 shillings can be 1,000,000 20 years from today. Yeah.
So in doing that, like, if we go back to the jars that you explained, if someone puts in saving, what you as a parent should do is if they put 100 bob, then you put 10 bob in there?
Yeah, or you can match it. Or you can say, if you save consistently until December, I'm going to match whatever you've saved. I'm going to match it. So if you save 1,000, I'll put 1,000 in that. And then now you open a bank account, because I guess it'll get a lot. Yeah, I actually heard of a parent who told their children, by the way, you know how Americans generally, when you get to 16, you get a car, and your parent typically buys you the car.
Right.
But he told his children, I'm not buying you any car.
Okay.
You're going to buy yourself a car. So whatever it is you're going to do, figure it out, and you're going to save money. And you know, his kids bought themselves cars at 16.
Wow.
Because they worked, they found jobs to do and things like that. So I think the power of compound interest helps children understand what investing is. And if I put my money away longer, it's great for those long-term goals that I have, because then I'll be able to have more later.
Yeah, that's a beautiful point. In the same way, if your kid borrowed money from you.
Oh, so that's another one.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's a very important one. If they borrow money, they have to pay with interest. And one of the things my husband teaches my kids currently is tax. Oh, I think it's unfair. But he says there's something called tax. So can you give me some of it? I need a bite. Tax.
I love that. I think your husband needs to come next time. We have to have him on here, because that's something that we often forget to teach our children, but is a huge reality, because ladies and gents, whether you like it or not, the government shall ask for the 30%. So be prepared to give it. So how do these tips change when the children get older? You just talked about the kids who are working. I guess in America it's different, because even you can get
opportunities for work.
Very different. But as they grow older, and now maybe they're teens, what are some of the things that you should be teaching them or showing them when it comes to them managing money and understanding how to?
I think at that age the value of work is very key, because now they're able, they can think, they can read, they're educated. And so a 13-year-old, by the way, can go out and get work. There's many Kenyans who did not go to high school, who today are doing amazing things because what they learned in high school was enough, right? And obviously maturity. But I think one of the things that teens particularly need to understand is the value of work. And so I would, as a parent, my plan when I do get there is to have my children work at different places and spaces. Whether I will tell you, Sharon, I need you to give me an opportunity for my child to come and intern behind the scenes. I will pay them, don't worry about that. I'll give you the money to pay them. Right? But they need to understand that work has to be done, and the more you work, and if you work diligently, then you will get more.
Because that's something that we, I don't know about you, but for me it was more of a shocker that even though you work, you make money, you're able to spend it. And that's what growing up, that's what I used to dream of. I couldn't wait for the moment. I could just make my own money, so I do whatever I want. But I found it so shocking that I didn't quite understand where my money was going. And I remember in my first year, I couldn't tell you what I've done with my money. And
I don't know if any of us can. Can any of us tell you?
Probably not. But I remember promising myself I will never, ever, ever again work and not have anything to show for it. And I was so disappointed. But it took ages for me to learn that lesson. And now, say your child is a lot older and they've now just gotten their first job. Please help us prevent the children who are now coming into their own from making the same mistakes that some of us did.
So a tip that applies for the older kids, but also even for the young ones, is goal setting. And this is one of the things I want to start working on with my child, right? Okay. So with each of those choices, what's your goal? Because if you don't have a goal, then what are you saving for? And it kind of makes even the process more fun and exciting because you're working towards something. So I think for a 25-year-old, for example, first, what are they doing in your house? Okay, so they can be in your house, but we're in Africa, so they're in your house. But even if they're in the house, there's some responsibilities they can start to take care of, right? They need to have a job.
Wait, sorry. I've just remembered when I first got a job, maybe like month 2, my mom just sort of being like, okay, so from now on, these are the bills that you're paying for.
Oh, for real?
And this is what you're buying for yourself. And I remember just being so offended and just being like, this is an abomination. Who do you think she was like, that's how it's going to be. End of story. No conversation about it. And I was so upset. I was so upset for a while, but Mom, thank you, because that was like a quick life lesson.
That is fantastic, and I'm taking that along with me. So the other thing that and I'm going to borrow this one, one of the clients who came to see me was an 18-year-old. Oh. And she was just like, oh, my dad. And I was like, what did your dad do? She said, I want to be, like, I'm passionate about photography, and I need a camera, like a really good camera. And my dad told me to write my plan, a proposal. I need to put down a proposal, and my life has been about proposals since I was 12. And I was looking at her in awe, and I'm like, I love that. Like, that is such a great tip. That if you get your children who want to do whatever, it's a business idea, fine, you need money, can you write me a proposal? That is what life is.
It's about, that's true.
Right? So they need to learn that they don't just get money. So that by the time they're 25, can you imagine that 18-year-old at 25? Oh. They already have a relationship with a bank, and they know where to get money when they need it, to borrow, to do whatever it is that they need to do in business. Yeah. So for 25-year-olds, I think it's to counsel them, and just find out, do you have any goals? What is it you want to do with your life? Because I'm not going to be here for you forever. Like, in fact, I'm not here for you right now financially. I shouldn't be supporting you. At 25, you need to have figured it out, particularly with regard to where am I getting an income from.
I hear you. And
so whether that means going to sell in whichever downtown place, or buy from wherever and going to sell, whether it's becoming a trader or offering a service.
My first mini business was a tuk-tuk.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, so random. Probably I don't even know why I said that, but it was. And I saved up for it from working from uni, and I just invested in another tuk-tuk, and I got some money, and then it just got complicated at some point. I just let the gentleman who was running it just continue with it.
Did you make the money back?
I 100% made the money back, and I was able to sustain myself at a point even when I wasn't making money. Right after I quit my job and I was trying to pursue blogging full-time, that was what helped sustain me for a bit.
How much is a tuk-tuk?
A little over 100,000, but it was secondhand, and I mean I I just did the most and borrowed where I could. But point is, yes, you need to start just finding ways to make your money and manage it quite early. Okay, so we have to take a break now. We're gonna have to say goodbye to Rina, although I'm pretty certain she'll be back very, very soon because we haven't even begun to
scratch the surface
on all the things about money, not just with our children, but all the things. But thank you,
You're
Rina.
most welcome.
And we'll be back very, very shortly with a young gentleman who's done very well for himself, despite being quite young. You definitely want to hear his story, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back, ladies and gents. But for this segment, we've got none other than Moguso Momani, who is a young gentleman and the CEO and founder of Gold Sky Marketing. He was inspired growing up by the likes of Robert Kiyosaki and Donald Trump and Richard Branson too. Some of the biggest moguls when it comes to business and money management in the world. Welcome, Moguso.
Thank you so much.
How are you doing today?
Very, very good.
Feeling good?
Oh my.
No money stress problems?
Well, it's relative.
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 Are we ever never stressed about money? I mean...
Well, for me, it's about contentment.
Okay. Which is very interesting because that's what actually Rina was saying.
Yeah, for me, like what I make, that is my hard-earned money. Yeah. I'm content about it.
Okay, good. Well, so when did your parents start teaching you about money? Did they actively teach? or did you just watch and observe?
It's two-way. One was physically in the business, and the other was putting me into books and tapes and audios.
Okay.
So what will happen immediately after school, when we close on holidays, Dad will say buy 2 academic books. So I will personally, he will insist. So he'll give me those Daily Nation articles by Richard Branson on Sundays.
Wow.
Then he will make sure we have internet in the house. Then the other thing was those cash flow quadrants by Robert Kiyosaki. Art of the Deal by Donald Trump. So, well, you read that, then you go to the business.
Wow.
So it's a two-way. So, well, I could read, then like the Art of the Deal, how to negotiate for business. And when I'll go to his office, he used to sell motorbikes.
Yeah.
So I will see him negotiate with CMC Holdings, Can General, how to, how many bikes am I buying, how much will I sell, what are my margins. So from then, it could now be a reality. I remember he trusted me, and I think that's the biggest thing. I remember in class 5, when anytime I'm on holiday, he calls me to the office, and I do I call it the reception work of taking money from the office to the bank.
Yeah. So what? In class 5? Yeah. He entrusted you with that?
I remember it was at Equity, so it was Uhuru Plaza. It was in Kisii. So Uhuru Plaza and Equity just on the same street. So he'll give me like 100 or 200K.
Wow.
So going back to this account.
So very early on, you started to have a very profound understanding of money.
For me, that gave me perspective about money. So that whenever I could see people splash money, live outrageous lives, well, I had seen it. So it wasn't a big deal. Even when I see people enjoy their parents' own money, for me, he taught me the hard way.
Yeah.
He'll only pay my basics.
Yeah.
And my luxuries were all mine. My first phone was mine. Any trip I'll make was my money.
So how did you make that money quite early? What were you doing? Tell us.
Now let me tell you what happened. It was really interesting. I remember from class 5. So after his business, I said, I need to make my money because, he'll never pay my school trips. He told me he will never, by the way. And he had money. So it was painful, by the way. It was really painful. Other kids are enjoying good money, visiting day, big like 5K in 205, 206. Big money.
Yeah.
But then I wouldn't receive that. You know what he told me?
Yeah.
Now this is it. The good thing, he took me to a good premium school.
Okay.
To school Peace. So he'll get me pin pops and queen cakes then I could sell double price because the kids had money. So I will get good margins.
Wow, look at this guy.
Yeah.
So you were like, it's okay, Dad, got this covered, mahasla. So what are the key lessons that you drew from watching your father? And I guess even, I don't know if your mom ever was involved, but what key lessons did you draw from watching them?
Okay, especially from my dad, money is a game of numbers. So regardless of the product or service, what are the numbers? Okay. What solution am I providing? Yeah. So back then in 2005, 2006, motorbikes are not big business. But right now it is big business.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
There's a motorbike around everywhere. We might just see one just right now.
Exactly. So it's a game of numbers, and I think that was the biggest lesson.
Okay.
So whatever angle you're looking at business, what numbers am I solving, or what need that will multiply the numbers to make the money. Yeah.
Now it's one thing when you're being taught this and you're watching your dad, and you're handling his money, taking it to the bank. It's another when you've made your money and now you have to put a lot of what you've learned into practice. Did you make any mistakes?
Oh yes, mistakes, definitely. I mean, you can't grow without mistakes.
Yeah.
I remember one thing I've come to realize. Unfortunately, I'm in a generation whereby we want quick money. So hi, Abel Maguso, yes, I have this idea, let's do it. Because you look at the margins, you say, hey man, making 100 G's in a week, so you start investing blindly, you lose money, then again.
I'm already laughing because I know there's so many stories of like, you guys, there's a deal here, huh?
Exactly. You see, we in this generation,
so
we want to have that V8 in time, but honestly,
it's gonna take some time.
There's a process.
Yeah.
So we have to respect that journey. I mean, that's one thing I really appreciate.
Right.
Success is a journey.
Okay.
So respect the process.
Yeah.
You have to go through it. This quick money game.
Yeah. If it comes quick, it probably will just go. It goes quick.
So that's one thing I did. I did have an oversight, but it's a reality.
Yeah.
It hit me.
Yeah. So what mistakes have you seen your peers making, especially the ones where like Mogusu, come on, just spend a few coins. What mistakes do you commonly see?
We want to play another game that is not our own game. For example, this is an analogy. You want to pay for first class when you can't consistently afford it.
Ooh, yes.
You with me?
I'm with you. I hear
so
you.
like fine, we live in a good city, good life, you know, you want to please everybody around, you know, have this, but you can't sustain it. So but I really thank God I met a mentor. He really is really nice at engaging and advising me. Sometimes when I look and do due diligence on a client, he'll like tell me, Mogusu, no, that client, just forget about him. That business idea you're telling me, no, so it's not worth it. That investment is not worth it. Try this, you know, do research. So it's been really fundamental.
Okay, so mentors is a strong point for you.
Well, I can tell you, I will have continuously lost money if it were not for mentors. Yes, you see, there's one thing, you can read books, interrogate with audios and all that, but well, it can be there for a while, but for longevity, no. But someone you can call, you know, meet up once in a while, be around his colleagues. Sometimes it's just calm to watch them, let them talk, you know, listen to them. There are many lessons.
What are some of the principles that you live by when it comes to money?
One thing I've learned, I think it's the best thing: dirty hands, clean money. Yeah. Let me do it hard. Let me make my hands dirty. Let people laugh at me. Let me walk on the streets. Let me go wherever I'll go. Let me engage my hands, as long as it is clean money at the end of the day. What
would be the biggest lesson that you would want to teach your children about money? I know you're quite young. Do you have any children?
No,
you don't have any children. I didn't think
only
so.
Only 23.
Okay, so only 23. Wow. So what would be the main lessons that you would like to pass on to your children?
I think for me, my generation, my parents taught me how to make money. But for them, I want to teach them how money can work for them. It's a different scenario. Making money is hard, but having money to work for you, it's not really hard, but it's more into decision making and you know, analyzing businesses, reading more into the economy, and you know, trying to analyze the market scenarios where they're heading to. That is easier. You know, you can always chill in, you know, have good holidays as money works for you, invest in private equity, invest in real estate.
That sounds all great, but that's a lot of, like, to get to that point is
I think one thing I'll do, like, let them have that info quite early. From age 10, as you progress, you know, as you'll be making, because I really want to invest in what they really love. I don't want them to go through the ordinary way of life, because fine, I respect it, but I don't love it.
So you wouldn't do the same thing your dad did?
Let me be honest with you.
Pay for your own holidays, buy your own clothes.
What I'll do for my kids, number one, let them go to a good English class.
Okay.
Any other language.
Okay.
That's number one.
Yeah.
The second is financial literacy.
Yeah.
So if they can pursue their talent and their financial literacy, and they can speak English and other language, say Chinese, Spanish and all that, they are free to travel the world.
And
like, you can do deals everywhere. You can be a global citizen. For me, those are really important. So as long as you can really work hard on what I can see in my kids, like I can see they have a future in this, then, you know, insist on that, keep working on that. I mean, for me, that will be the best thing. You know.
What does your dad say about you and the way you've turned out?
Well, expectations. Yeah. Expectations are very high. Yeah. So, and the other thing, sometimes I have to tell him, success is a journey. So I'm in the process. Things will show up someday. Yeah. So patience.
Yeah.
But he's been very positive and supportive.
And I'm sure he's proud too, just to see. It's not every day that you find a 23-year-old who's founded and running his own company. So I'm sure he's also very proud. And that, you know, those little things that he used to do, whether it's sending you to the bank with money or inviting you to be present as he's doing those deals and proposals and stuff, I'm sure that's what really helped guide you and shape you to who you are today.
I think there's one thing, something I always tell myself: all that I am, that I ever hope to be, I owe it to my parents.
Thank you so much, Mogusu, and we wish you all the best. And thank you guys for watching. Parents, it doesn't matter if you have a toddler, a teen, or a young adult in your home. you want to make sure that you're instilling good money values in them, and also money habits, because they're watching what you're doing. And at the end of the day, they may end up picking up some of these things that you're not proud of yourself. So let's raise money-wise children, shall we? Now, before we go, I just want to share with you guys an interesting fact as part of Travel Tuesday. The country for today is Chad. So we traveled to Chad, where it is illegal to take photos in the open without a photography permit. This is so different compared to Kenya, where we take countless of selfies and photos anywhere. So what you think is a norm in our country may not quite be the same in other countries. Very interesting. What do you guys think? How would life be? What do you think? That's crazy, huh? Not being able to take pictures without a permit in public.
How will you keep memories?
I have no idea, but we'd love for you guys to take photos, especially ones where you're watching the show, and make sure you use the hashtag #LivingWithUs, or you can just, you know, follow us on social media, see what photos we're taking, permit-free. Thank you for watching, and thank you to Park Inn by Radisson for this beautiful setup. We will be back tomorrow, 8 a.m. sharp. Bye. Done. Done, 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 done. These are my